Every small town has a story, and we're here to shine a light on the people, places, and moments that make ours unforgettable. Welcome to the Small Town Bold Stories podcast. On this episode of the podcast, I sat down with Natalie Roye of PG Studio Art Center here in Brandenburg, a business that's been in town for almost 7 years now that offers so many cool things that you may not know about. You're going to like this one. I hope you enjoy it. Well, welcome to the podcast, Natalie. Thanks so much for coming on. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your business that you have in Brandenburg, and then we'll get into it.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Natalie Roye. I own PG Studio Art Center down on Main Street here in Brandenburg by the river. And it is an art studio of mostly pottery and glass, but we do all sorts down there cool. As far as crafts and fiber arts. And we try to offer whatever we can get our hands into.
So we'll get into that in a little bit, but you're not originally from here. I think it's kind of an interesting story about kind of where you grew up and how you ended up here, but
yeah, originally
from Western New York?
Mm-hmm. Yep, so Upstate, which is really similar as far as the countryside goes to here, except a lot more snow,
yeah,
right? And for a lot longer, like 9 months of winter.
I can imagine.
So the summers here aren't my favorite. But yeah.
So you're saying you'd rather have the snow and not?
I love the snow. I am a winter gal.
Yeah, I'm over the snow this winter that we've had. So
I appreciated that we got some.
I mean, a little bit's nice, but not this stuff for like weeks.
No, we are the family that is geared for it, right? We were stationed, we're military, so we were stationed in Watertown, which I think gets more snow than Alaska at some point. So we have it all. We're the only ones on our road out there.
Just living your best life.
Yeah, taking advantage of it.
So you all have been here 7-ish years, you said?
Yes, 2019.
And I'm assuming military brought you here?
Military brought us here. My husband was active duty when we got here. Bought a little, just kind of temporary, didn't know we were going to stay.
That seems to happen with a lot of military people.
Well, Fort Knox, you come here later in your career. Yeah. It's not a young duty station, so it happens. And you know, Kentucky, it's got all 4 seasons, right? It's pleasant enough. So when the decision came down whether we were going to retire and stay or stay in and move along, it was just we just kind of said good enough.
Yeah.
Rather than move again.
Yeah. So you said earlier in your kind of pre-show stuff, in the 20 years that you've kind of moved, this is the longest you've stayed somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is quite long term for us when we start to really think about it. Most of our duty stations were 2 or 3 years.
It's pretty common.
Yeah. Yeah, 7. It's amazing. My daughter has been in the same school, system for 7 years.
Crazy.
It is crazy. We actually, I don't think, have any more picture frames sitting on our floor.
So you've totally unpacked them.
Yeah, because it takes a while. You just get used to kind of temporarily staging stuff. But yeah, I think every picture.
So 7 years, you've been in business almost 7 years now.
Yeah.
But you really didn't do this before you came here.
So in Buffalo is where I went to school. And my degrees were in biology and geography, and which took me into environmental consulting down to Maryland, where I met my husband. And I did that for 8 years, something along those lines. But military has a way of changing your plans, and so do kids.
No, yeah.
And both of those things happened. And so it just took a turn. So when we moved, I didn't find employment immediately, and we had a baby, so I wasn't really looking. And I started teaching myself stained glass in the garage. It was just something I was like, I've always been curious. And that was before really the YouTube era, and I could just get on old school. Yeah, I had to read text and things like that. No. It really came kind of natural to me. So I didn't really struggle, so I picked up doing shows and selling what I was making pretty fast. And long story short, slowly but surely, it just kind of grew into
what you have now.
Yeah, getting the brick and mortar when we moved here.
And your daughter, you said, kind of took an interest in it too.
Yeah.
So that probably helped make things a little bit easier, didn't it?
It did. So when she was really young, you know, when I was working right at home, you know, out in the garage or wherever it ended up landing, she would always say, "Oh, can I help?" And so it really kind of started my brain on how would you teach this and could you teach this? And she really wanted to, so I just started developing, and she became my tester for quite a few years. And is this kid safe? You know, are the little fingers capable? And that's really where it came from, me wanting to do classes and not just make it myself and turn and sell it.
Do something different and kind of share it with everyone.
Really, that's the majority of what I do and why I keep doing it.
So was your daughter when she kind of like took an interest in that?
Oh gosh, really young, because we were still up in New York, so I would say 3 or 4. Like she, you know, well, I mean, glass, it's colorful, it's pretty, it's shiny.
But it's sharp and can cut you as well too.
Yeah, I had to rack my brain a little bit, because if, you know, even if I had been able to get online, and you could a little bit, obviously, there wasn't a lot out there on kids' glass. It was fake glass, you know, or where everything was just store-bought already, you know, they could put little rocks down it. Yeah. So it took me a little bit to figure it out, but boy, when I did it really, I was like, this is neat.
Was it just like kind of being okay with her touching it, or like what took you to get to that point?
Making it safe that I was okay with her touching it, you know. I didn't there's no way to make that totally safe. No. But no, like rounding out edges, grinding glass. And I had a kiln at the time, which will make everything round and soft. And so it just took that, and then finding projects that were simple enough but still fun, and they could make it their own. Because when you set a bunch of stuff down for a kid, they'll make some stuff that you never dreamed of, and it works. Whereas an adult will just take what I made and they'll copy it.
Yeah, the creativity.
But the kids are actually really fun, because they will take it. So that's where it really.
That creativity's got to be interesting to see.
It's crazy, because they will ask, "Well, can I do this?" But yeah, of course, go do, because you want them to have fun.
Yeah.
Right. My quote in the studio is "Memories, not masterpieces." Whether it comes out beautiful or not, they still made it. They'll love it. Amazing. Yeah. So I always encourage that. But she really got me there.
Good. I think that's something like in the world, it's kind of like a lost art as we get older. It's like we don't want to be creative and go out and do things.
Yeah, you don't want to step outside.
Because we're like afraid we're going to do something wrong.
For failure. Yeah. And they just don't. Kids just let go. They don't care.
So 2019 you opened.
Yes.
That was before a pandemic.
Nope.
But how did that play out?
So I had a good Christmas. I had a good response.
Because you opened like in November of 19.
November, right? Yep. So we squeezed it in. I got what I could made for me. That was the duty station before here. Okay. And so I already had a few things kind of worked out and lined up, small, quick, you know, ornaments, things like that. And so it was enough where I was like, I felt confident, you know, continuing on. So when March hit, and I even remember back, and I'm like, wow, I actually made it.
Yeah, it's unheard of for people to get through that.
Yes. And one great thing that I always, you know, pat myself on the back a little. I didn't jump into my business with a whole bunch of debt and buy everything. I've just slowly grown that from day one all the way up till today. So I didn't really have anything that I was at risk of, right? I just had to make sure the lights stayed on and that I stayed there. But it made me develop some ways of doing things that I still use today. I never did walk-ins before. You always had to sign up for the class. I always had to know how many were coming.
To try to help keep numbers. Space people.
Yes, and so through COVID, you know, it was just like, well, I can't have people sign up for time slots. It's just too hard for people to commit like that. So we did the walk-ins, and that really helped. I did take-home kits, and people would come and pick it up at the door and then bring it back, and I'd fire it and vice versa. So, I mean, we made it.
You had to get creative.
Yeah, but it helped, because the walk-ins, that you can walk in and do something in my shop, is one of the more popular ways to do it.
Well, in that time, like you couldn't really do anything. It's like if you had something to go and do, like people were thriving for that and wanted to do it.
Right. Yep. The want, the need was out there for sure. And I think while it probably stunted my growth here, because there's still a lot of people that don't know, just because that grand opening and the buzz about it got squashed, it's still really, people still were wanting and needing and would do what it took to kind of get in there. And I've always had a great response from the community as far as, we love that you're here.
There's just nothing else like it in this area, I feel like.
There really isn't. You really have to go to Louisville to do what I offer.
If you can stay local, and it's just better.
And I am pretty just kind of average, low key. You know, you can always feel safe in the studio as far as, you know, it's not hoity-toity. It's laid back, place to be. That's
something you talked about too. Was like everybody might come in as strangers, but once they get there, it's like everybody's friends. Nobody's a stranger when they leave.
Truly.
You wouldn't get that in a Louisville or somewhere else. You know, that's what's great about a little small town is.
It's one of my favorite things. And people might think it sounds corny or whatnot.
Truth,
but
though,
truly, if you came in, you would know, because there are people that have been there and have done many classes. And so when they see somebody, whether they're new or not new, they want to come over, they want to see what you're making, you know, and they're going to encourage you. When I'm really, you know, Saturdays can get busy, especially around the holidays. Oftentimes somebody will be like, well, come sit with us, you know, and they'll share their table, which you just wouldn't get in a big city. You know, you'd be waiting absolutely. So it's really great what it's turned into. And I see these, you know, families come in and the kids know each other, the mom, you know, whatever, you know, they just invite them.
It's just an assumed thing.
It's really nice.
So if people don't kind of realize, you have a little bit of everything that you do for all ages for one. So I guess give us some details, like what's for kids, what's for adults, and like what all you have in the shop.
Yes, and sometimes I can prattle on about it just because I think one of the very easiest ones to start with is I do have the paint on ceramics, right? You can come in and glaze. We have hundreds of little things, you know, to pick from. And you can do it as a walk-in anytime my door is open. Anytime I'm open, you can come in, pick off the shelf, sit down, and we'll tell you how it all works, tips and tricks, that kind of thing. So that's
kind of like a pre-made glass, and you're just painting
pre-made ceramic. Yep. And yeah, you're picking from, you know, the hundreds of colors we have and painting it. And that is, I always say, from 2 to 92. It's one of the reasons I brought it in, is because sometimes the glass isn't kid-friendly. And it will always say it in my listings. If you find me, it'll say whether it's kid-friendly. Yeah, so you'll know if you can bring the little ones and they can participate. But with the ceramics, everybody can do it, and nobody's bored with it. It's not too kiddish. It's not, and you can find something. Right, and there's such a selection. Everybody finds something. Usually the hardest part of their day is actually picking out what they want to paint. So there's that, which is pretty popular and big. And of course, we do the holiday stuff and those classic Christmas trees that everybody loves. And then most Saturdays, I have another project you can just walk in and do, and that changes every Saturday, and that's typically glass. So a lot of times it's sun catchers, birds, and heart gardens. We just did hummingbirds, flowers. A lot of the kids' ones, like the heart garden, was kid-friendly, and by what I mean by that is there is no sharp edges.
It's rounded edges and things like that.
Yeah, soft edges, if you will, or rounded dots, things like that. And so a lot of times, you know, mom thinks she has to step in, and she doesn't. We use, for the kids, they use Elmer's glue. It's gonna be fine. But it'll always say kid-friendly.
On something like that, are they like painting on it, or what exactly are they doing?
They are building a picture with glass pieces. Essentially
and
fused
using the
glass.
Elmer's to hold it together.
Yep, and then I'll put it in the kiln and it'll all melt together. So yeah, we do all sorts with that, you know, dishes, sun catchers. We do ornaments every year. Yeah, because I try to change every year. There's a new design that you can come and do.
Kind of keepsake for every year to have.
My rule is don't put things in your mouth at the studio. So I don't have ages. People always say, what age? And I don't. It's more about that.
Just don't put it in your mouth.
Don't put it in your mouth. Well, because glass can look like candy.
But it's not.
No, it's not. So I do this little Christmas tree ornament that I never get rid of because people would be upset because their kid has done one since 2019 and they've done one. So yeah, a lot of traditions have really started to pick up, and I see these big family groups year after year come back and do an ornament, and it's really nice. But of course, like for me, I get, I'm like, well, I'm touched by it, you know, that they picked there to have their little family.
You got to see the kids kind of grow over the years.
Oh,
too.
yeah, it's crazy.
It'd be interesting to see the one that they started with versus where they are.
Moms have brought them and showed me, this is their first one. So it's really touching that they would do that.
So there's kind of those things you can just pop in and do, but then you actually have like structured type classes.
Yes, thank you. So a popular one that I do, because there's just not a lot of people that teach, even in Louisville, I haven't really heard or found one. I started in stained glass, close on to 15 years ago, and I will teach that, and it will take you right from learning about your pattern all the way to taking home your piece. And stained glass is that true church window with the lead in between the pieces kind of thing.
It's kind of lost art, I feel like.
It's getting there, right? So I love teaching it. We keep our classes small, so they are sometimes hard to get into. So they are small and they are hard to get into, but I will continue them as long as I'm here. Yeah, as long as you sign up, I will keep doing it. So that is a reservations type. Okay. The other thing that is fairly new, we've had pottery there where it's just hand built. But this past May, so almost a year, we added pottery wheels. Or if you're old like I am, back with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, so nobody's disappointed. But yeah, so we have the pottery wheels, and you can do those a couple different ways. You can just come for a fun night. I just want to try it, date night, bring your gal, whatever. And you just get to throw and almost kind of play, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a fun time. Reasonable expectations, right? But yeah, and then usually people still end up loving the little salsa bowl they made or whatever they end up making. And so there's that, and we run at least a couple of those every month. And if you really love it, we have sessions, what I call, and that's subsequent weeks, 3 or 5 weeks, and you'll get to throw as much as you want. Yeah, a little give it a whirl is what I call the fun night out.
Catchy.
Yes, but the session class, you'll learn how to finish out your pot. You'll be dipping and glazing your pot, basically taking it all the way to the end. And so is that option as well.
So some of those things sounds expensive, like a wheel, all those things, like that takes money, but
it does.
In 23, you got a grant from the chamber. That probably helped with some of that stuff and helped you grow a little bit, didn't it?
It really did. It was a great opportunity to go and do, and I was awarded enough where it afforded me my biggest expense, which was the kiln. Okay. I had glass kilns, but I didn't have a pottery kiln, and they are different. And that's what afforded me to bring in both the paint-on ceramics and the when you're actually hand building or now thrown pottery, because you can't do it without it. And those are a huge expense to bring that in. It really got me started in being able to offer the pottery world to the community.
And that was something that you could apply for, I guess.
Yeah, so they have a whole little, you have to write up kind of an abstract and a business plan, and then you do have to do a presentation if you're selected after that. But yeah, I can't remember how many others were up there, but yeah, it's a great, and it's for Meade County businesses.
For local businesses.
For local businesses, yep, whether you're starting out or I was already existing, but wanted to add to.
Makes sense.
And so yeah, it was great. It was a great help. It would have taken me years longer because I don't accumulate debt. Yep. So yep, it worked out really well.
So obviously you've added the wheel recently. Mm-hmm. Anything else that you've done recently, or what's the future look like for you?
Hopefully more space is really what we need. You don't necessarily see it as the customer, but a lot of my time is spent changing the studio over between these different medias. Yeah, and each of those requires different setups, which some are not. It's putting drywall down on every table and things like that. So I would really like to have areas that people could come in and almost more walk-in friendly.
It's like already
sit down
preset.
at the wheels. Go ahead and use, go ahead and the hand-built pottery, or whether it's the glass bench, and they can just come in and use those. And I could offer them more freely, whereas right now I can't.
Because you have grown a little bit since you got in that space, but you're kind of maxed out at this point.
I mean, it's a cute little space. I love old buildings. But truly, we have gotten to that point. It was a tight squeeze to get the wheels in, but I was determined. But now it is, we are really hoping for a bigger space in the future.
Did you think in 2019 that it would be where it is today?
Is it bad to say yes? Yeah, no, I had the 5-year plan, and I knew pottery was coming. I knew I wanted it. I knew it would make a more easily walk in, because the glass you have to prep. I have to do things. I have to pre-cut pieces. And I needed things like that. And I love pottery almost as much as I love glass, right? So I knew it was coming, and I had hoped within 5 years. So yeah, I guess maybe I did hope.
Yeah, that's like take those, year and a half out, or 2 years. So
I think close to 2 years, because there was a lot of timidness to still get back out there, even though we could.
Like groups and
yeah.
It was just a weird time that I hope never comes around again.
It was crazy.
But I mean, the community probably is what helped get you through that, and that's what I love about this area is that everybody just comes around everybody. And
I wouldn't, and everybody has to say this who owns a little small business around here. Like, we couldn't do it without the community. It's such a small thing, but I always mention it. Every Christmas, I call them the town Santa and Mrs. Claus, because they're everywhere. They do the river, right? They always come by. Even if I haven't asked them to, even if they have bookings before and after, and he's got visits, they always stop by.
Comes.
And I just love that.
Yeah. It's just little things like that just make this little town so neat.
And I've known them, I think, since the very start. So I love that I see new faces, and I need new faces. But I love that I still see the same face that I did at my opening.
When you started. Well, hopefully the future is bright and there'll be lots of new things to come.
I'm always adding whatever I can.
Even if
I can
space
find.
is tight,
I'll make it happen.
You're making it work.
That's
what
right.
you got for now. So if people don't know where you're at, tell them where you're at, how to get in touch with you, all that stuff.
Yes. So the easiest way to know is I'm down by the river, right in Brandenburg, down on Main Street, before you hit the river.
The river, you've gone too far.
Yeah, you've gone too far. A lot of people, I think, still have tunnel vision because there's not been something for so long, but we're there, right? We're making it happen. So yes, down on Main Street in Brandenburg, 228 Main Street to be specific. I have Facebook, which is PG Studio Art Center. I have a website with all that same information, and also a way, if you want to email me in that sense, there's a link right there. Again, pgstudioartcenter.com.
What if somebody wants to register for a class?
They're going to do that on the website. Yep.
Okay.
You can find all the details on Facebook, when it is, pictures of my examples, how it works, prices, but you still need to go to that website to register.
Anything else people should know before we wrap things up?
I would just say to give it a try, right? There's a lot of people that walk through my door, even yesterday, and they thought I said I was there for 7 months. And I said, no, almost 7 years. And she lives about 5 minutes away. And she didn't know. And it is not uncommon for me to hear that. The other side of it is, well, I knew something was here, but come in.
The door's open.
Come in and just see what we have. And you saw a smiling face and had a conversation, but I bet you find something
that you like. That might be the title of this episode. The open sign is on, come in. Well, thanks so much, Natalie. I hope that you have a wonderful next 7 years, and we'll see where you grow and where things go.
Well, thank you so much.
Yep. So you've got a cool story to tell, something about our community that makes it strong and unique. You have a business. You know someone that has a really cool story about the history of our community or anything else. Well, we want to tell that story on the podcast. So do us a favor and visit smalltownboldstories.com so that we can tell that story next and you get to hear it. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Small Town Bold Stories podcast, brought to you by Next Home Chisholm Realty. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and we'll catch you next time with more bold stories from the heart of our hometowns.